What's up, you guys? Kevin Hale here, doing a round of shots on this Sunday night, February 16th, 2025. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope you've had a good weekend. If you're in the Kentucky area, Mother Nature's been in a bad mood the last few days. We had lots of rain the other day, yesterday, right?
Crazy.
And then we wake up to a bunch of snow today, and there's more snow in the middle of the week.
Yeah,
It's mommy nature is, not happy right now. But the show must go on, right? Doc, Davo, Buzz, making his repeat. Appreciate it. Lots to talk about tonight. A lot of Kentucky hoops, men's hoops. The women had a game today. Actually, Doc, get the party started. We'll go on and talk Kentucky women. They had 3 games this past week, correct?
Before we do that, I need a point of clarification. I see Baker on here, and I would like to know whether he is an honored guest or whether he's just a panel member. Because if he's an honored guest, then I'm going to treat him with kid gloves. But if he is a true panel member, then all gloves come off, and we will have to call him out for his bad takes. Is that correct or not? Point of clarification.
What kind of bad taste?
He is part of the roundtable. He's not a special guest tonight.
Bad takes, bad takes. Well, I mentioned to Kevin the other day, and Doc, you will remember this, that back during the day, I think I've said this before, like in I grew up a Reds guy. Opening day of Riverfront Stadium was my 10th birthday in 1970. Know a lot of those guys and everything, but, whenever they would hit a home run, they would get 50 gallons of Super M, marathon gas. And then whenever they were on the post-game show, they got I forget what the name of the jeweler was, but it was a gift certificate from a jeweler up in Cincinnati. So when Kevin called and asked me to come on the other day, I'm like, where are the shots being delivered? I mean, this show is called Round of Shots, but I'm not seeing anything show up at the door.
All right. He's put me on notice here, and I got to do something about it. I mean, because I'm
you don't have shots to. Are offensive shots. The shots come from the panelists.
Oh, I got you. But you could do a show one night from this place over in Louisville. I went on the liquor tour, and there's this pre-prohibition place that you can go on a tour, and it's down in the basement. It's pretty cool. It'd be a great place to do a remote show from one night.
Oh. Nice.
It's only a good idea.
Yeah, Kevin, you're looking for sponsors. This is right up our alley there.
Yep.
Right up our twisted alley. Yes. I kind of lied. I said we were talking Kentucky women's first, but let's hold that thought because we'll get into Kentucky sports quite a bit. But let's talk. Last week I didn't do a show, and Super Bowl LIX.
Oh.
59 licks if you're reading the LIX Roman numerals. Doc, Eagles dominated. Surprise?
It was another super bore, as many of them have become. I wasn't truly surprised when you looked at all the positional players. Other than quarterback, the Eagles were the better team. They were better in all the other positions, but with Patrick Mahomes playing for the Chiefs, I heard so many people tell me, well, you can't really count him out until he kind of flops. Well, finally, he had a game in which we flopped. So there is no three-peat this year. All bets are off now. The Chiefs have come back down. I was rooting for them, but the best team won.
Davo, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Eagles defense just ate up that Kansas City offense. Patrick Mahomes was on his butt, 6-7 times, threw 2 interceptions.
Without a penalty called on it, by the way.
Yeah, that is true. What world are we living in, right? The Eagles defense shoot them up. I think the Eagles did a good job stopping Saquon, which was kind of surprising, but they just couldn't stop, Jalen from running all over them, and that was ultimately probably the biggest part of the game was him using his legs. So, me personally, we all know I enjoyed it. I think I think it's time for the Chiefs to sit down for a few seasons at this point. So, yeah, I enjoy it.
Are you saying you are having Chiefs fatigue?
I'm saying that I am a grade A Chiefs hater. Correct.
Noted. Buzz, what you got? Super Bowl.
Except for my fandom of the Bengals, I really don't have, team hates or likes or anything. I kind of go with people that you root for, and of course, Darian Kennard, the offensive lineman from Kentucky, played
Super Bowls, right?
3 straight Super Bowls,
Three straight wins.
First 3 years in the league. Not 3 in a row, but the first 3 years in the league. And he played great. And that Eagles defense, they did all that stuff. I think I'm right. I don't think they called anything at the end of the game. But I don't think there was a single blitz in the game. They just went straight man up with a 4-person front and just dominated that Chiefs offensive line. But weep not for Travis Kelce. He had a wonderful consolation prize he could go home to.
He does. There wasn't too much of her on the tube either.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't want to get into a political thing here because I'll get you guys in trouble. But they hardly showed her. They hardly showed the president. And then you turn on the Daytona 500 this afternoon, and there he is. He's riding around the track in what they call the Beast, and he's talking on the radio to the driver. It's like it's an entirely different thing.
It's a reality show,
Which
Pennsylvania,
he's good at.
which he is good at. And he'll look back, and again, not to get political, but we talked before the show about numbers. He'll look and see what kind of numbers rating.
Oh, there's no question.
Yeah.
He's probably getting the early numbers in already. I don't even know if the race is over or not.
I mean, are they still just going in circles right now, or is that race?
That's
done?
What they do. They just keep turning left.
What happens if the blinker stays on?
What happens if what?
The blinker stays on.
Oh, then you have to go through a reset with the computer.
Yeah, and there's that, that the joke out there. If the blinker fluid runs out, does your blinker stop at that time? Right?
That's like SEC teams going 500 against each other in conference play.
We got to talk about that too. What about this league, though? I mean, my God, this. Well, we'll get into SEC too. But let's start with Kentucky women's 3 games this past week, 2-1, right? 2-1.
It was good to see them get it finally turned around. They had a 2-game losing streak. Yeah, and there was always with this team. There's always been 2 big concerns, actually 3 of them. The first is obviously their physicality or lack of it. They've got height, but they don't have a lot of bulk. So when they're against teams that they can go ahead and battle and push around and rebound with, then they're fine. They've blown those teams off. But when you get them against teams that are bigger, stronger, control the boards, then that's when they get into a lot of trouble. And unfortunately for them, they've got a couple of big teams coming up in LSU and South Carolina. It will be very interesting to see how Kenny Brooks, how his team fares against them. It's been a concern from day one. I want to see if they have improved from the physicality standpoint. They're never going to be one that's going to just punch people in the mouth. We'll have to see how they react game by game, and there aren't that many left. I think there are 5 games left. They've got some proving to do. The other issue is depth, and it goes hand in hand. Foul trouble. This team fouls way too much. They don't play many people. They've got to keep their players out of foul trouble.
Davo, what you got?
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of overreacted to the Ole Miss loss. That team is gritty and tough. They took that Texas team to like 3 points, and they took USC, Southern Cal, to like 2 points. So, I mean, that was a very tough and gritty team, and it was on the road. Yeah, I do agree. They need to get a lot tougher. They ran into a Texas team who was coming off hot, beating their chest, beating South Carolina. And like Doc said, they got height, right? They got tons of it. But whenever they get up against them girls, they got a little bit less height, but a lot more muscle. they get bullied down there, and that's exactly what happened. And they didn't hit their shots, right? They missed tons and tons of open shots. I think Doc they was up like 20-16 early in the second quarter, and Key and Strack both went out with 2 fouls, and Key was holding her own. She made quite a few tough baskets against the big girls for Texas, but after that, Texas went on that run. There was just no coming back. So, yeah, it was good to see them get a win today. Obviously, they needed that and get their confidence back with shooting and everything. So, a lot of tough games ahead. I think there's still a 4 seed being projected in the NCAA tournament, and a win today kind of helped them in that top 4 of the league to get that double bye. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think they got to get either, like you said, they got to get Tennessee at home. They got to find a way to get either LSU or South Carolina's going to be pissed the rest of the season, right? So that's going to be really hard to go down to Columbia. So they got to either get LSU or Tennessee at home to really solidify themselves in that NCAA tournament top 4 seed, I think so.
The good news right now is they're in 4th place in the conference. The 2 teams are competing for that final double bye. Alabama and Ole Miss. Both of those teams also have difficult teams to play on their schedule. I think both of them play LSU. Both of them, I think, play Tennessee. I'm not absolutely sure of that, but it's not like Kentucky doesn't have some wiggle room. They still have some wiggle room. Yeah. I think it's important to get that top 4 seed.
Yeah. Ole Miss lost tonight to Tennessee, so that helps.
I've just been informed our show is competing against the NBA All-Star game and the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary. So,
but can I tell you something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think one of the biggest factors, I don't know if you know this or not, but LeBron James pulled out of the NBA All-Star game an hour before tip.
Because
I bet he saw the tweet that I was going to be on the show.
Of course. Duh.
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, how bad is that? An hour before the game, you manipulate everybody in the league. You manipulate your own team. You try to get your own son. And listen, I'm okay with that. It happens in Little League all the time. But it's called love. We can be objective about everybody else's kids except our own, right?
True.
But
well, let's. I do want to talk about the NBA for a second. But
hold on.
Dave, finish that. Finish your thought.
Do I get to weigh in on the women?
That's what I'm going to. Speak.
Okay, so first of all, they did a lot of women's games early on when I was doing SEC stuff. Vic Schaefer, the coach at Texas, is known as the Minister of Defense. He is a great coach, but he is a great guy. And so it's no surprise, he did unbelievable things with the Mississippi State program. He was with Gary Blair at Texas A&M, and a lot of people thought he might go back there, but then the Texas job opened up, so he went back to Texas. To me, that's not a surprise. That's not a bad loss. What was it? 71 straight at home today. That Dawn Staley's South Carolina streak was broken by UConn. She's not only a hell of a coach. She is just one of the best people I've ever met in this business. I mean, I could go on and on about all the talks we've had over the years about stuff and, pregame meals, playing cards and everything. And I mean, she just gets it. But the other thing is, I mean, Kenny Brooks is so good. And to see the emotion from him this week when they had the cancer game, and his wife is now clear from cancer, and to see, he's not a guy that shows a lot of emotion, but to see his reaction to that, my camera is my phone, so I can't call it up. But John, you were probably there. Georgia Amore just set another bunch of records today, and at the end of April, it'll be my 43rd year covering all these programs and everything. That young lady is as good as they get. On the court, off the court. I think she's projected 6th or 7th in the latest mock draft. And I will tell you, the job that Kenny Brooks has done with all these people, he is in on the very best recruits out there in the country, including the #1 recruit in the country. I could tell you how I know that, but I'd have to do something despicable to you if I did.
Also with Kenny Brooks, you can tell that he really cares about his players. A lot of
Yes,
his
he does.
answers to his questions, even though they're not direct, you can tell that they're just geared toward not so much protecting his players, but he does want them to kind of develop also along the way. He's not
Yes.
scared to be tough on them in public, and you don't see that in all coaches. I haven't really gotten a chance to learn all his mannerisms and all his tendencies yet, but it does seem like that he's a guy. I think these are his words, not mine. He says he just speaks the truth. I mean, today he even kind of called out one of the media people, which makes for excellent.
Who did he call out? Nobody
TV.
in the media has been called. Nobody in the media has been called out since Cal left and got off your back.
Come on, John. Cough it up. Spill the beans. Who was it?
No, I can't take the blame or the credit.
It's got to be on a presser on YouTube or something. We'll see it. You can't say it.
All right.
You can just.
All right. Let's say somebody from one of the outlets who's pretty well known out there, maybe inadvertently or mistakenly used the word punked when he was talking about how Kentucky was dominated on the boards.
Kenny Brooks was not
against
like that.
the Ole Miss, and Brooks did not like that. He took offense. He did it in a diplomatic fashion. He was kind of joking, but he came back with, "So what level did you play at?" When it wasn't at the college level, when it was at the 5th grade level, Brooks said, when I was listening to your podcast, and then when the media member said, "Well, at least you were listening. I appreciate it." Brooks said, "No, I didn't appreciate it."
Yeah, and that's probably because one of the assistants came in and said
a little bit of an awkward moment.
One of the assistants came in and said, "Did you hear what so-and-so said?" And that's why he listened to it. Let me tell you one other thing before we go on. Georgia Amore, you never know what a touch point is in life, in business, or in basketball. You know, I've always told people, you know, if somebody kind of lashes out at you, they're having a bad day because of something else. It probably doesn't have anything to do with you.
Fair.
But Georgia was telling me that her mom was big into thoroughbreds in Australia. And before she signed with Virginia Tech, they had come here for a visit. And she just loved the place. And so when Kenny announced he was going from there to here, I mean, she had all kinds of support.
She was like, "Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah."
Yeah, you damn straight, right? She knew who the most famous horse was in Australia. Do you guys know who it is?
I don't.
The Great Farlap. They made a movie about Farlap. You can Google it after the show. But she knew all this stuff. I just think the world of her as a person, as a player.
Yeah, she is a wonderful interview too. I can't remember if I listened to it on the pregame show or what. By the way, Dave, I listen to you every time. I'm too cheap to pay for parking, so I park way down the street, and your pregame show just comes on naturally as I'm walking in. So I've got like 15 unadulterated minutes to listen to you and Cameron go at each other. Good job, guy.
You're a good man. Thank you, John.
43 years. Is that what you said, Dave?
It'll be 43 on April 27th.
I'm going to say this just once, but having you on a few weeks ago, that was a fanboy moment for me.
Oh, stop.
But not anymore. You're part of the Roundtable, so
that's right.
One of the guys.
You guys come over to the arena sometime. We'll take pictures. We'll do all that stuff, right? We'll bring you in the room. We can do that.
We can do that.
Dave?
Yeah.
Peanut TR. Amore is good like Boogie Flan. She's too many steps ahead of the others. I believe the team will actually be better next season. Oh. Doc?
That's a hot take.
Interesting take.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't think
Sounds
it's a
like
shot.
somebody who's had some shit. Sounds like somebody who's had some shots.
Well, yes. Dave or Doc, what say you?
I think she's a generational type player, and we better really savor the last few games we have, being able to
Great point.
go ahead and watch her. She just makes all the other teammates better, all her teammates better. I can't imagine the team not having somebody like her. She's the glue that holds them together. And as the team has progressed over the year, you can see everybody is now more comfortable. They can kind of predict what she's planning to do. She can predict what other people are doing. I think I'm hoping it's only going to get better, but that competition is tough. LSU scares me. South Carolina still scares me too.
But you know what, John? They're not invincible anymore. And you make a great point about Georgia Amore. You're not old enough to remember. You were doctoring and everything. If you go back and look at tape of Louisiana Tech, Kim Mulkey was Georgia Amore. She was that kind of player. She was the heart and soul of her team. She never backed down. I mean, most people do not realize that Dawn Staley is one of the most decorated players in basketball. What has she won? Has she won like 3-4 gold medals? Like 1 or 2 as a player, maybe 1 or 2 as a coach. And, she is just, we are blessed. And Kenny Brooks is right there too. We are blessed with women's basketball in the SEC to have the best coaches in the country. No question about it.
I got to ask real quick, Staley. Could she coach men's? Not
she absolutely could. So
effectively
could
coach.
Mulkey.
Effectively.
I think so. She really, really knows the game. She grew up with a lot of men, and she's like kind of my ilk. And the one thing that flipped my switch, she knows every card game in the world because there were no video games or anything, right? She's grown up there in Philadelphia and everything. She knows euchre, tonk. Tonk is an old World War II game that I learned from a friend's dad of mine. That they played in the war, but she can relate to anybody. She can identify talent. She knows the game, and she can really. She's just done an amazing job. South Carolina hadn't done anything in women's basketball, and that was a great hire by them.
Or how far off?
She didn't forget the local guys either. I remember that one press conference where she specifically said, "Hey, you guys are the ones who have been with me the whole year. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give you these exclusives." And she was able to talk to them. So many times you feel like a second-class citizen when the national media kind of scoops in and gets all the stories, gets all the interviews, gets all the access. And it was just so refreshing that the local people who covered the team day in and day out were not forgotten by Dawn Staley. I remember when she said that specifically. It spoke volumes to me.
You weren't talking about anybody in particular, were you, Doc, when the national media came in?
Well, you can kind of surmise for yourself, but my exposure has been limited. I haven't had access to too many programs.
Sounds like Doc really
it's the
wants
peanut gallery.
to call out.
The peanut gallery. Yeah. Welcome to
Doc would always
gallery.
come up with the one question. And are you still going this year? I haven't heard you ask a question recently.
I've been in and out. Mostly it's just so easy to be able to tune into these things unless you have something specific to add. Yep. Much easier just to dial it up on YouTube, and you can do it from the comfort of your couch.
Okay.
Fair. Following it up, just saying sometimes with a player like her, the rest of the team can get slightly out of sync in a college game. I see where he's
maybe, but if they're getting out of sync, it's because just like Mark Pope, he had to put a whole new team together, and all these folks are playing together for the first time. That's probably it more than anything, I would think.
Not to start trouble, but do you see?
Go ahead, trouble.
You see? Can you see the bottom of the screen, Dave?
What does it say? Dang, this guy Dave Baker is really old. Who said this?
I'm M. Bacchus.
All I'll say is, if he thinks I'm old, wherever he lives, pack a lunch and come to Lexington and try to keep up with me for a day. And we'll see who's old.
There's a flex.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it's not a flex. It's just the truth.
Facts. All right. I want to switch just real quick the NBA.
Yes.
All-Star weekend, Doc. I mean, I didn't know about LeBron just bowing out. Oh, wait a minute. It's your son. It's your son, Dad.
That's
it's
Manning?
No,
Why would he? Yeah, no, that's my son. Why would he know about this? He's an 8th semester sophomore at UK. He is currently majoring in socialization and not anything academic.
It's your son,
But I
Dad.
love
I've
him.
kept up with you my whole life.
I didn't tell him I was doing this, and
You tweeted it out, Dave. That's probably where he saw it.
Yeah.
well,
I mean,
if he saw something on the internet and he remembered it, it'd be much more than he's doing in the classroom right now. So, congratulations! I said he was majoring in socialization.
we're gonna
This is
family
round of
feud.
shots.
Yeah, I was
Round
gonna
of
say,
shots fired.
We got to get a rebuttal from the son after that comment.
Oh, you do not. I mean, he will talk all night. He makes me look like a recluse.
Sorry. The NBA weekend, the All-Star. I have to admit, as much as I love our cats, the whole NBA thing, I'm just disenchanted by it. There's just something about basketball players, pro sports players, professional athletes making in excess of $50 million a year to play a game. Yeah, I don't know. It sounds
I'm
like
all for him.
I mean, good for them, but
I'm a capitalist.
Anyway, you have an All-Star game. I think they changed the rules of the All-Star game every year. And last year, wasn't the All-Star game literally both teams scored almost 400 points together?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? Well, obviously you're here and not watching. I mean, the All-Star game is NBA All-Star game, the NFL Pro Bowl. I do think baseball All-Star does a good job. I think they do it right of the big sports. But Doc, NBA All-Star this weekend, did you tune into any of the three-point shooting?
No, I don't really have that much. Yeah, not that much interest. When somebody like Tyler Hero or anybody with Kentucky ties wins a 3-point contest, and yeah, you take note. But no, I'm not rearranging my schedule to watch any of that.
But you rearranged your schedule for me, didn't you?
Always, every Sunday like clockwork. It's part of my routine now.
Dave-O,
especially if you have guys like Buzz Baker on, it's hard to say no. Yeah, I've got a bone to pick with Buzz later on when we get to UK basketball too.
Oh, I know what it's going to be. I'm going to write it down right here, and I know what it's going to be. Go ahead.
Dave-O, the NBA All-Star weekend for you, Dave-O.
All right,
gotten
since I didn't fork out my $27 for parking, I was walking in through the rain the other day, and I heard Buzz Baker talk about Coach Mark Pope as Coach of the Year, the leading candidate for the Coach of the Year. I just about dropped in my tracks right then. I know he's a homer. I know he's got to kind of do that because he's on the UK network, but Mark Pope, Coach of the Year. Did you really, really believe that, or are you just trying to get viewers to do a double take?
Did you ever hear me advocate for the last two coaches as Coach of the Year?
Well, let's hold that thought because let's wait till the Kentucky.
Let's go, Dave-O. Go ahead.
All right, Dave-O, All-Star weekend. Anything? Yes, no, maybe.
I'm ready to hear this shit, but it's the NBA is so
that's exactly what it is. That was my take exactly.
It's prima donna. I mean, it's just a bunch of guys who get paid an extreme amount of money. They call their own shots. I don't feel like they give a shit about the fans as much as they used to. So I don't. It's not my thing. Like you guys, I'll kind of keep up with the Kentucky boys here and there. But other than that, it's whatever. I'd much rather watch NFL if it's professional and MLB. So.
And then you got Draymond Green calling out the league. Draymond is an active player in the league who's calling out the league for being soft. I tell you, at this point, from that comment to the rest of the season, shouldn't every player that is soft become unsoft when they play Draymond, Buzz?
Yeah, but maybe they should, but they won't.
They won't.
Because he doesn't care to mix it up. Let me just say this about the NBA. It's personal to me, but one of Cal's greatest recruiting failures was when he didn't recruit Luke Kennard hard enough. Luke Kennard was an all-state quarterback. Listen to this now, as a right-handed passer in Ohio.
That's true.
And he won Mr. Basketball as a left-handed shooter. His dad and I grew up together, and his sister was one of my interns. His parents were from Paintsville, Kentucky. This was the biggest laydown of laydowns to recruit this kid to Kentucky. And Krzyzewski out-recruited Cal. So Luke is now in his 8th year, and I was with him on Friday night because they dedicated the court at our high school to him. And we were back there in the back talking. He is number 1 in the NBA in three-point shooting percentage and did not get invited to the three-point contest. And, I mean, people make these decisions. I mean, dear God, after everything that the NFL went through with Colin Kaepernick, they decided, oh, my gosh, we can fix this by inviting Kendrick Lamar to perform at halftime. Oh, what a good idea. I mean, what is going on?
I thought we weren't going to get political here.
This isn't political, but it's taste. Put Dolly Parton up there, right? Put Bruno Mars had a great halftime show a few years ago. The all-time best was Prince, no question. Yeah. In a driving rain, Prince just killed it. But do you think Roger Goodell even knows who Kendrick Lamar is? He doesn't know who Lamar Odom is, much less Kendrick Lamar.
Isn't that the whole point, Dave, to be able to draw in people who have absolutely no idea what the NFL is about and get
wasn't that halftime show hit the all-time viewership numbers? Right.
This one?
Yeah, it did.
I don't think so because the game was already a blowout.
Oh, I go check it. I think this halftime show was the most watched ever.
It beat Michael Jackson.
There was a story on the Daily Mail today that the NFL has sent out word that it was a huge mistake because the guy they should have gone to was Lil Wayne, who grew up and has lived in New Orleans all his life.
Yeah.
You know, Buzz is into it when he says it right. Lil
Wayne.
Lil.
Little.
Like,
it's Lil.
Not little.
Lil.
Like 50 Cent.
50
Cent. Okay, this is way out of control.
Doc has both of those guys on his iPod.
That's on my playlist.
The Sun's got some has a good take here. What do we think professional sports need to do to reconnect their viewers to be more involved in these things? The best thing I have watched recently was the USA fight against Canada last night.
God,
the hockey came later.
Team thing a good idea. Holy smoke!
What is the best thing? I mean,
Major League Baseball has always been, certainly under Manfred, they've been very concerned about that. You know, they came up with a pitch clock and, they put the guy on second base, in extra innings. Whether you agree with it or not, they understand, I think, that the pace of the game is not attracting younger viewers. So I certainly think they're trying to do something about it.
Anything, Dave, Doc?
It's dragging on to me.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Go ahead, Doc.
This could be an extremely bad take, but especially where the NBA is involved, I almost think the players are too good. You know, when I'm watching a game, it's almost like these are the best athletes in the world running up and down the court doing these amazing things. You know, I love the college game because I like people who mess up occasionally. I think it makes it a little bit more relatable. And when these guys are just too good and everybody you put on the court is able to do all these wonderful, fantastic things, instead of elevating the game, I think, at least in my mind, it kind of takes it down a notch or two. Like I said, that just may be me, but I don't
Well,
watch.
we've got 20 some minutes that I'm hoping to have a hard stop. So there's an opportunity for us to mess up.
We love the hard stop.
Yeah.
I can just say a few things about the NBA. I think it's taking too long, way too many reviews and such, right? I think the season's too long also. What is it, like 82 games? Something
The
like
NBA
that?
players would agree with that.
Yeah. So why not make it like, I don't know, 62 maybe, and then have an entire, like an NCAA type tournament, like a one and done, and then once they get to like the final
They've
four,
added an in-season tournament.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, but I
Which
want to see
NBA
the
people
end.
seem to like. I don't
Yeah.
get it, but they seem to like
Well,
it.
they like it because they get money if they win. But the thing is, at the end of it, just have an NCAA style type tournament, and I think that'll bring in some more viewers. But it's the NBA. I love basketball, right? But the NBA is just not my cup of tea, just because of it's boring.
I agree. All right, what we got? JP Sports knew what they were doing with their staff. Buzz Baker, Tom Hammond, Larry Conley, Barry Booker, all have distinctive voices that got 10-year-old me to stay in the game. That's a good damn point.
Stop.
Good call.
Those were back in the days when that's why Rob Bromley had started calling me Buzz, and Kaywood picked up on it. But the real reason it took off was because when we were doing JP football, there were 3 Daves on the broadcast. Dave Neal did the play-by-play. Dave Archer, who played in the NFL, was the analyst, and then me. And we just had to do that to know who we were talking to.
So where did the buzz come from? Why Buzz?
It was the hippie lettuce, right?
I'm telling you what, John. I have heard stories, and I will commit to the shots team here.
All right, make sure the tape is rolling now.
No. I will tell you all of the stories off air of people that seem to think they know how Buzz came about, but it was really this. So I start Derby week in 1982. Probably about a month or two later, my boy Rob Bromley is up in the sports office, and he's sitting there on the manual typewriter. You need a nickname. Buzz. We're going to call you Buzz. And that's how it happened. And then Kaywood heard him call me that one day, and Kaywood took off with it. And that's the true story. But I'm telling you, there are some stories out there that would make your hair curl. I mean, prominent people that say, hey, I know why they call you Buzz. Oh. I'll tell you off the air before the next time we get together.
Hey, Dave, I got a question
Yes,
real
sir.
quick. We're gonna go away just a little off topic just for a second. I'm gonna take my headphones off.
Go ahead, Dave.
Hold on. You guys still hear me?
Yes, got you.
Okay, so my wife is standing off to the side. She don't want to be on here, right? She's kind of shy. So my
Can she stick her hand in the picture just to show that she's really there?
You say hi, Sarah. You say hi.
Yeah, just
wait.
She's really shy.
Or one of
hand.
those expensive pieces,
Right
one of those expensive pieces of jewelry that you bought.
There it is.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, she's famous. She's hand famous. So
Go
my
get that
father-in-law, his nickname is Buzz too, right? Ironic.
Okay.
So we went out to eat. What was it, like last week? And you brought up the fact that Patino is going to come full circle and get on the bench with Pope.
I still think so. Yes.
So and my father-in-law said, "You tell that man there ain't no way in hell that's going to happen." So what's your rebuttal on that? Because I want to tell my father-in-law this.
I just really think it is. I think I don't want to get too deep into this, but I think from the get-go, Rick regretted leaving Kentucky. Mm-hmm. He really regretted leaving after he didn't get Tim Duncan. I mean, but I talked to him. Everybody's heard about those Anita Madden derby parties that she used to have, and they were great things. The last derby party she had would have been on a Friday night before the Derby. I forget the year when he left. Would have been 96 because he wasn't here. No, 97. Yeah. And we were back there in a room, and I remember talking to Rick. It was like about 1 or 2 in the morning. And I said, "You really going to do this?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "How can you not do it if you're going to get Tim Duncan?" And that was the whole deal. So then he doesn't get Tim Duncan. And Rick
He did get Ron Mercer, right? Didn't he get Ron?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. So Rick's North Star was a guy named Billy Minardi, who was his brother-in-law.
Right.
And Billy was a guy's guy. If you watch and this is not a negative, but if you watch the movie Goodfellas, I mean, Billy was always the life of the party. He was always busting people. He was the one guy that, and Rick was very emotional. I've seen him throw tape machines down the middle of the airplane on the way back from games. He was infamous for saying, if I ever play this guy again, somebody just hit me in the head. And then the next day, the guy was the greatest player in the world. But Billy was killed in the World Trade Center bombing. And it dramatically affected Rick. And, when he was in periods of uncertainty, Billy was always the guy that went to him. And I think he was just kind of adrift for a while. And in the last several years, when I got to talk to him when he was back here in September, he is back to his old self and better than his old self, because the young Rick was so driven. He was just, he was relentless. And that doesn't mean he's not driven now, but he appreciates things so much more and is very open about it. Last Tuesday night, after the Tennessee win, he tweets, "Great win, Cap." And I just feel in my bones that before he's done, he may not be done for a while. What is St. John's? They're top 16 with this NCAA thing now, right? They're number 16.
He's should be a leading contender for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, you talk about a Coach of the Year candidate.
Mark Pope.
Yeah.
If the season ended today, Rick Pitino, Coach of the Year.
I'm saying, man.
John, I love what Rick Pitino is doing. But comparing the SEC this year to the Big East is like comparing the NBA to the Big East. It's night and day. Mark Pope put this thing together in like no time. They were picked to finish 8th. Now, to be fair, they're in 8th place right now in the league. But they have got 5 wins against top 10 teams, more than anybody in the country. It's kind of an enigma that they have been so good against the best teams and kind of tripped up against the other teams. But you can't take out all the injuries that they've had. Like that game last night. If everybody was healthy last night, they would have had Kirk Kriisa, they would have had Jackson Robinson, and they would have had Lamont Butler in at the end of the game. And that pass that went to nobody would not have gone to anybody. Now, that's just my feeling. And so I think there are a lot of guys. I think Rick has done a great job this year, but I think oftentimes people just take the easy way out in terms of Coach of the Year voting. That's just my opinion. Who would you vote for, Sue Sayer?
I'd probably put Bruce Pearl up there also. If you're talking about Southeastern Conference, he's certainly shown that his team, Auburn, can dominate the best conference possibly ever. The guy can coach. He's a wizard on the court, so I would throw his name up there together with
the best talent in the league. And Calipari let Janai Broome walk from Moorhead to Auburn when he had to come through Lexington. How does that happen? Yeah. When one of his assistants was the head coach at Moorhead State and could have helped steer Janai Broome right here. How do you make that mistake?
Yep. I think with Janai, when he was playing at Moorhead, I didn't watch him a whole lot, but he had to be just
oh my gosh, he was really good.
He couldn't have been as good as he is today, right? Dominant wise, how could anybody be?
He was in the OVC, or else Bruce Pearl would not have pursued him. And let's not forget this: paid him. He didn't go to Auburn because of Bruce Pearl. He went to Auburn because of what he was getting.
Oh yeah. Well, that's
Pearl's
good.
Just a bonus. And let me say this to be fair. I loved on Twitter today. If you go to Twitter and look up Bruce Pearl, there's some lady who was at Home Depot last night, And Pearl was stopping in there to get something after Auburn beat Alabama. And she took a picture with Bruce Pearl at the Home Depot in Auburn. It's great.
Let's go on and switch gears. Kentucky men's basketball this past week. We had Tennessee, good win. A win that's going to give them a lot of good buzz. No offense, no pun intended.
You're fine.
Their resume, but then you have the Texas loss, and here's what, like last night, the moment.
Go ahead, just spit it out. I can see you're conflicted.
I have these moments where last night it's like several guys off missed shots. They got front row seats to the ball, and they might as well have just pulled up a chair and watched some other teammate try to get our intensity, our physicality. I still struggle, with where we're at there. It just seems like, Doc, I'll start with you, that every freaking meaningful rebound, loose ball we don't get, and it just takes us in a different direction in a game like that.
Yeah, it's extremely frustrating. As Buzz alluded to, there have been so many of these games that Kentucky has won through Mark Pope's genius or organization or whatever you want to call it, that they had no business winning. The two Tennessee games, I wouldn't have given them a chance in France of pulling those two off, and yet they did. And yet, on the flip side, you see these moments, and these moments they're building up now. You talk about the last few minutes of the first half of the Ohio State game, the entire first half against Ole Miss, the end game against Arkansas, and now the end game the other night, where it seems like that these guys even forgot how to even play basketball. And you realize that, that happens because things don't happen in a vacuum. If Kentucky women's basketball is missing Georgia Amore, then they're going to have moments like that too. So when you have your top point guard out, when you have your backup point guard out, when you have your emergency point guard out, when you have Andrew Carr, who's probably playing at about 60% right now with his back issues out, overall, big picture, this team has drastically and dramatically overachieved. I'm not going to go crazy over that loss against Texas. You're talking about a team that was desperate, on the bubble. Their best player goes for a career-high 32 points, and yet Kentucky was still in a position to win that game. The meltdown the last 4 minutes is absolutely the only thing that makes you kind of question what could have been. Otherwise than that, I'm not worried about it. They lose at Vandy at home this week, then my pucker factor will start going up then.
What's your pucker factor, Davo?
I mean, this team is Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, all the way through the season, right? You got to take the good with the bad. The good was sweeping those orange, clad folks down south that we just love to beat. And then the bad is just we got to keep dealing with these injuries and dealing with these, what would happen whenever we play these lesser talented teams, right? So, yeah, you just – like I said, you got to take the good with the bad. There really isn't much more to say about it. I mean, it is frustrating, but you got to get really excited whenever win the game that you're not obviously supposed to win. And it's kind of hard to get upset about losing these games like Texas whenever you have your best defender out and you have your second best scorer out and also your backup point guard out, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just let's just keep playing top 15 teams at this point.
Well, that would solve it, right? Buzz, last night, one stat that caught my attention was kind of Brea's follow-up to the Tennessee game. He didn't make a shot. His only points were on the free throw line. Was his game last night truly impacted by not having Butler or one of the other guards there to find him, help him get shots? Because clearly that didn't happen last night.
I don't know if it was impacted by that, but for the first time this year, and I think Brea has been outstanding.
Agree.
But for the first time this year, I believe he was impacted by his performance.
Yeah.
He couldn't hit. He wasn't getting shots. To me, his body language was not good.
Fair.
And so there was frustration there. The other thing that I would say is, as you look at all this, I understand where everybody's frustration is and where it should be. But I mean, at the end of the night, and I'm not saying this would have prevented this, but you got a kid like Lamont Butler who's got so much talent, who is so experienced and so physically and emotionally strong. Maybe some of those things don't happen. I don't know that for sure. But I mean, there are a lot of programs in this country that if they didn't have their 3 top point guards, wouldn't have even been in this game. And I'm not making excuses. They should have closed it out. But the one thing, you know, I know Mark's not going to make this an excuse, and he said that last night. But it's part of the equation. You cannot assess what they have done overall and what they're doing now without taking that into account. The other thing is, this league is so really good. I don't care if they've got everybody available Tuesday or Wednesday night, which they're not going to. But I mean, Vandy has come really close a bunch of times. They had Tennessee down 16 in the second half last week and couldn't hold on.
Right.
And so this is what you're looking at down the stretch. And I'll just give you my quick take on the injuries. So Krisa is now, he's well past 8 weeks. Is that right, Doc? I'll defer to you medically.
Is. Right.
Okay.
He's past the projected time initially that they thought he would be back.
So if he is past 8 weeks with a break, then it's a little more involved than we thought. We heard Mark say that last week they got a third opinion on Jackson's wrist. And Doc, I'll again defer to you, but the only reason you get a third opinion is you haven't gotten the answer you wanted on the first and second opinion. Is that right?
Right. They didn't like opinions number 1 or 2. So they're looking for, or maybe they're looking for a tiebreaker too. So sometimes
I get it. That's a fair point. Fair point. And then, you know, Butler has, I don't know, and I've said this on the air before, I don't know whether this shoulder thing is a contact thing, whether it's a range of motion thing, whether it's both. But for Mark to say that both were complicated and serious, it sounds to me like they are trying to decide whether they can get through the rest of the season by resting those guys at certain times and crossing their fingers, or whether or not they're going to have to do something before that. Would you agree with that, Doc, or not?
I would. The thing is, everybody's speaking about these injuries as if, okay, number 1 priority is not so much to win these games, but to make sure that these guys are healthy come March. There's absolutely no indication or guarantee that that's even a possibility at this particular point. Even if they get him back, granted, a Lamont Butler at 80% is much, much better than low Lamont Butler. But how much is that really, really going to help you when you're in that meat of the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament?
I would just say to you that if he didn't play anything else other than the last 4 minutes last night, it would help you substantially.
Yeah. In order to keep my sanity for this year, I've got to adopt the mindset of, hey, it's been a heck of a ride to see the program kind of had this breath of fresh air, guys playing for the name on the front of the jersey, except for the last few minutes of the ball game last night. it's been wonderful. I think we just really need to kind of enjoy that ride, because we could easily
you do realize you're talking to Big Blue Nation. This fan base is not like anybody else.
Mark
This
Pope
fan
says
base,
he knows the mission, win every single ball game. I'm telling you, this is Dr. John, a la Dr. Phil. This is the doctor speaking. For your peace of mind, you better lower those expectations.
Dave-O, I have identified you as the voice of reason on this damn thing. So can you bring some reason to this? I mean, I appreciate your perspective.
I try to keep things 50-50, right?
Yes,
I try to look at it as a perspective from the outside, and I try to keep my sanity on the inside, being a part of the Big Blue Nation. I think we can all agree that we have probably surpassed preseason expectations, correct? Nobody in their right mind would have saw us knocking off Duke, Gonzaga, Tennessee twice, all these other kind of big top 25s. But I don't think nobody in their right mind also seen us losing to teams that were way less talented than us, right? So at the end of the day,
can I ask you a question though, Dave? Clemson's in the top 25 now, right?
Who?
Clemson.
Correct. Yeah.
They're the most top 25 now, right?
Yeah.
The most not talked about top 25 team.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some of those games. Yes, I don't understand what happened at Ohio State.
No.
I mean, I could go complete fanboy and say it's because two guys got engaged that weekend, but I'm not going to do that.
Ohio State game, that was a neutral site, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't
it was up in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that one's we shouldn't have lost that game. But
so I think, like Doc said, at the end of the day, we're so far into the season. It's time to just continue to enjoy what we got. Right, and let the professionals behind closed doors figure this shit out. Whether they're going to sit some and play in March, or whether they're going to sit the rest of the year, or whether they're going to gut it out. We just have to enjoy it because, like Doc said, this is fresh air now. So now we get to see what's going to happen towards the end of this season and get excited for year number 2 because we just got a taste of what year number 1 is with a completely new revamped roster and program.
Now we can look at the big picture and appreciate what Coach Pope has done.
Yeah.
But we also have to keep in mind that this is still BBM we're talking about. We're 17-8, 6-6 in the league. We have 6 games left. Vandy, Alabama, Oklahoma, Auburn, LSU, Missouri. Say we go 3-3. That's an 11-loss season, and I'm doing. This is the messenger here because this is what I'm seeing on social media.
Oh, please!
I'm just saying, 11-loss season.
Put it out there. Don't be backing up.
You have a BBN. There's going to be a percentage of our fan base that will lose their mind if this could be a 13-loss season and maybe a first weekend exit. I'm just saying.
I'm going to tell you something right now.
Go.
I would bet a lot of money. I don't care who they're playing. This ain't going to be a first weekend exit.
No, I'm hoping not. No.
I'm just saying. I've never felt more confident about that. I don't care who they're playing. In Pope, I trust. Even with this injured short roster, in Pope I trust. Mark the tape, as they say.
Little if you're Buzz, what does this make your son? Is it like little Buzz, slightly Buzz? Anyways, his take.
No,
he goes, yeah,
but
I know. But even with people out, you got to find ways to win in crunch time. Injuries are a part of sports, and they suck. But you have to have others step up. And right now, we aren't able to do.
And you've done that against 5 top 10 teams. This team has only had its full roster available to play 7 times.
And
what's Thanksgiving like at your? What's your Thanksgiving like, Buzz?
What do you mean?
You know, the conversation. Your son.
There's no conversation. Manning's over at his mom's. I mean, I usually catch up with him at some point in time, but you know, he's real good about making these hot takes while he's got the protection of the screen. But I mean,
So
like
he's a tough guy behind the keyboard, is what you're saying.
It's like I said, when we started doing talk radio, Oscar and I were doing stuff. Bob from E-Town could easily be some guy named Dave from Richmond. And the only way you knew is if you had caller ID, right?
You saw that.
All right, Dave, I got to ask you this. You talk about asking people questions, and you don't have to answer, or you can lie if you want to. But
why would I lie to you, Doc?
How much of this sunshine pumping is due to your association with the UK radio network? Do they ever censor you on what you can or can't say, or if you say something truly negative?
Did you hear last night's show? Did you hear last night's show? Some guy
I'm sure I did, but remind me what negativity
no, you
you were.
didn't. Some guy called up and accused me of like banging on the Kentucky kids because I made a comment about the fact that Pope had done this stuff with basically a roster from the YMCA. and that's nothing negative against these kids. But Noah, Travis Perry, Chandler, Almanor, I mean, go on down the list.
You're absolutely right. It's sub-elite talent.
Mark even said it. Most of these guys never dreamed that they could play at Kentucky. And had it not been for this situation, and I said this last night on the air, it's very similar to the Unforgettables. The Unforgettables would have never been the Unforgettables if it wasn't for the situation. And I love these guys. I love the kind of people they are. I love the kind of players that they are. But when we talk about this UK fan base that Kevin is talking about, if Pope doesn't start rolling in 4 and 5 stars, they'll be all over his back. And am I wrong about that?
Well, I don't need 4 and 5 stars. I
don't, but I'm talking about the fan base.
Yeah,
Dave, I'm sorry, Kevin, because Dave just brought up something good. Dave, so he is getting some 5 stars in next year, right? You got Marino.
He does. He does.
But
he's got Jasper Johnson.
What is going to happen if he brings them in and he doesn't give them what I guess you can call the Calipari treatment, right? Bring them right in, start them, play them 37 minutes.
You know what will happen?
What's going to happen?
Portal. They'll get in the portal and they'll get paid by
they'll be
else.
one and done.
I'm talking more the fan reaction. What's going to happen if he doesn't play them like Calipari would? Like what the fans are going to come chop his head off, right? Because we know the BBN, right? That's what I'm worried about.
When was Calipari's last national championship?
2012.
That's right.
Yeah.
That would be almost 13 years now.
Yeah.
There are a lot of kids out there that are huge UK fans.
Yeah.
That have never seen this team win a national championship. I mean, I don't know about the fringes. They're welcome to their opinion, and I support all of them. But at the end of the day, it's what you do. And
right.
I said this on the air the other night. I can't believe if I was an AD at a D1 program, a D2 program, when you listen to Mark Pope and John, you do a lot of this stuff. I mean, you were Cal's biggest foil. And that's because he talked in all these platitudes. But Pope comes out and talks about this guy is a 0.75. And he talked about Trey Johnson. And he said the guy is under 1 when he catches and shoots. But when he's off the dribble, he's like a 1.3. And he's doing all this stuff without notes. This guy is so into this, and that is no indicator of future success. But what it does tell you is this guy ain't just rolling out sound bites. I mean, this guy is diving deep into these analytics. He supports his players. And listen, I think Rick's done a great job, but is Rick more of a coach of the year because he's 15, 16-1 in the Big East right now, then Mark Pope, who has come into a situation where Cal took all of his recruits, where he had nobody, one of the biggest pressure cookers in college basketball, and now he's got 5 wins against top 10 teams, which I believe is the most in Kentucky history for a single season.
Yeah, that's what Corey said. Yeah.
Really? Well, Corey Price.
Corey
said
says
it.
it's
Yeah.
fact. That's right.
Yeah, which, by the way, Corey Price, he had the invite to come on tonight. He chose to watch Saturday Night
Oh,
Live.
come on.
I
Corey.
was like, oh my God, Corey.
I'm going to call him. I tell you, you talk about people that love the Big Blue Nation in different
I love
ways.
that kid.
That guy is so good.
He
He's so good. But I yield to my friend from Lexington in the medical community for his response. I yield back the balance of my time.
No, that was an excellent answer. It sounded like something directly from somebody who's employed by the UK radio network.
John, can I tell you something? I can promise you that of all the people that work on the UK radio network, nobody talks to me. I mean, I'm over at the TV station. I don't do the BBN show or anything because it's on another channel, and that's great. But I mean, I am like I'm like out on an island.
All right. Okay.
I'm digging this. I'm digging this right here. This.
I am a rock. I am an island, and an island feels no pain, and an island never dies.
You got Doc going at Buzz. You got Little Buzz going at Big Buzz. Protection of the screen. I'll get on the show next week. Nobody's worried about being on the screen giving you facts.
Wow.
I want you all to record your next Thanksgiving.
I'll remember that the next time he texts me for money and says it's for like laundry detergent and he's wanting to go over to Two Fisted Willie's on campus.
Fisted Willie's. That sounds interesting.
It is a local hangout on Woodland Avenue, has a rooftop bar. It's a great place.
All right. Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail this.
We had the son on the toe. We gotta probably get him on too.
No,
now
I get it. Thank God for Davo. That's what I say. Davo, what did you do for your wife for Valentine's Day?
Well, so she's gonna say
this is a family-friendly show. Davo.
Well, she's gonna. So we'll keep it PG, obviously,
okay.
Right? Well, she's gonna say I didn't do anything, but we actually had I did a Valentine's Day dance down at Lake Barkley State Park. I just got back a few hours ago.
You
so,
DJ?
Really?
I DJ. Yeah, I DJ.
You do?
And, I do. Yeah.
What is your DJ name, Davo?
DJ Dave. I keep it kind of
DJ
simple.
Dave, I love it.
But my
boring.
I guess I can plug my name. It's Wildcat.
Yes, go ahead.
Wildcat Sounds DJ Services.
That's dedication.
I gave my business card to Mitch Barnhart last time I seen him. But anyways, we went down to Lake Barkley. They put us up in a cabin for 2 nights. They comped a meal. Yeah, they comped a meal and everything. So
it was under the stars.
And she didn't appreciate that.
She did, but she still wants some chocolate covered strawberries. So I have to get her some of those pretty soon. So.
Davo, here's what I can do for you. I'll get those for you, and I'll meet you in Shelbyville.
Hey,
oh, hell yeah.
I would love to do it.
I can get them in Lexington. If it gets you out of the doghouse, I'll do it.
I would love to
send
do
me
it.
your contact info because I got 2 daughters getting married this summer.
Hey,
they might want DJ Dave.
Hey, I'll give you the BBN discount, Dave.
Let's
BBN
go.
Discount.
Now you give him the round of shots discount.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an extra 15% off. How about that?
All right.
Let's go.
All right, we got
and
it.
then tell him that Doc Huang sent you. The guy who's banging on Mark Pope and not supporting him for Coach of the Year.
Dan Pace asks, any truth to the rumor about Dave Baker running for Andy Barr's seat?
I cannot run for Andy Barr's seat because I'm in Frankfurt. So I'm not in Andy Barr's district.
We got
so I'm I'm in James Comer's district, who's a great friend of mine. My daughter worked for him up in D.C., and
nice.
she's now working for another entity that helps Kentuckians. I've always had a great interest in politics. I don't know that I could ever be a candidate, but I'd love to be a behind-the-scenes guy.
That's cool. That's very cool. Wow. All right, so rounding third and heading for home. A little past.
Let's go,
top of
Nuxall.
the hour. Yeah, let's do it. Again, Kentucky. What games this week? What we got? Vandy Wednesday, and then
this
Saturday.
is the only Wednesday game we've had, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
I think it's the only. Everything used to be Wednesday and Saturday, and I think this is the only Wednesday game we've had.
Super Tuesday. They're all about that now.
Tuesday, and then the occasional Friday night. I got to give some. To the SEC. It's just this season. It's a badass conference. I mean,
yes, it is.
Just top to bottom. But then let's give some respect to Auburn, to Alabama. 1 and 2, they played each other. It was Auburn got the win, right? Auburn got the win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
at Alabama.
Alabama. You watching that game? I mean, that's like heavy hitters. I mean, they're just two great teams. Right now, the NCAA released their mock 16.
Yes,
and 3 of the top 4 teams are SEC. Florida's the third with Duke. I mean, my God, if anybody gives Pope shit about this season, point them to the league. What kind of league we got here? I mean, for him to step in with this team, which is kind of a team of misfits. I mean, and I say that with all due respect, because I honestly, a lot of the players.
That sounds like a direct.
I didn't know any of these
players. Direct shot at Dr. Huang is what it sounds like to me.
Hey, he's had a good season. It's just not a coach of the year type season. That's all.
I would say it, but yeah,
who would be your coach of the year?
I told you before, Ricky P, Bruce Pearl. I'll put both of those guys ahead of Mark Pope.
Not Dan Hurley, right?
The best talent should be the coach of the year.
Yeah.
He's got the best roster in college basketball. I agree with you on Ricky P. Why don't you go with your boy Dan Hurley?
You look at results. I mean, you can't ignore results. Bruce Pearl, what he's done. This is the crap that Cal always got when he had teams that were supposed to be good, and in the early years they were good. He got the accolades. When they were supposed to be good and they weren't good, that's when the poop hit the fan. That's when people really, really started getting on him. Bruce Pearl, he's done everything that we could have imagined with that team. Season's not over yet. I'm not giving up. When Auburn comes in here, I think with Rupp Arena taking on a life of its own, there was a possibility there could still be an upset. But once again, season ended today. Just looking at results, Ricky P, Bruce Pearl, those are 1-2 in my book.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
I'm digging this vibe between Doc and Buzz.
Mm-hmm.
It's a keeper, Davo.
I can't wait until Wednesday when I'm walking in. I'm listening to Buzz Baker, and I'm going to listen to another one of his beautiful takes.
You're walking in because you're not paying for parking, right?
Wednesday night is going to be a very difficult game. I mean, Vandy has played well. They were up 16 on Tennessee. Mm-hmm. They are not bad. And I think every game from this point out, until they get the first, the full roster back, is going to be a dogfight for Kentucky. I'm not just saying that. I mean, it's going to be an absolute dogfight.
I don't really have to throw in there if you were looking at what have you done with the talent that you do have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think we've
I'd put him above Mark Pope, just barely, but still above Mark Pope. And that's not anything against Pope. I'm saying Pope's done a wonderful job, overachieved.
I think so.
The only guy that is above Mark Pope is the Pope, Francis, who we hope is recovering nicely from his bronchitis.
Oh, there you go. Is that right?
I'm right there with you. Let's go.
All right, wrapping this up. Final shots time. Appreciate everyone in the chat hanging with us. And Little Baker, appreciate you.
Do not encourage him. Do not encourage him.
So I'm all about a soundbite or some hot takes. And
dude, he will be texting you. He will try to find out your number. He'll figure out where you work.
Follow
and show
me,
up at your
Little
office.
Baker. We'll talk.
Oh my God,
I love this. Wait a minute, what is this? Can we get a close up of Doc's?
Yeah, I see the ding right there. Yeah.
What's the bling?
Can we what?
Oh,
the
the
earring.
Oh, what is that going on there? No, hold on, Doc. Let me do this right. There, better. What is that? The other ear. Look at you. I love that. He's the man. He is the man.
Doc, my ears are so big. If I got an earring, they would have to get like a drill bit to put it in.
Yeah, my philosophy is as long as it's reversible, I'm okay with it. I'm willing to try anything from a fashion standpoint, as long as it's reversible. You start getting into too much ink, that's when you've kind of gone over the edge. But
here's what we need to do. We need to take the four of us and we need to go and get inked somewhere with the show logo.
Hey, there you go. You get us a sponsor. I'll do it.
Davo, how would that go over at your house, Davo?
So I have two fears: heights and needles. So that would have a lot of thinking on my behalf.
Okay.
So
would the wife support it?
Yeah, she wants me to get one, but like I said,
we could include her too.
And Maria's in. She wants some ink too. All right.
Let's go.
All right.
That's a
really good stuff tonight. All right, let's wrap this up. I appreciate you guys hanging with me instead of watching the NBA and Saturday Night Live. Corey Price. All right. Doc, final shots. This is your quick take on whatever you want to.
Okay, two quick things. First of all, got to get a little shameless self-promotion. Buzz, have you read my new fiction debut novel yet? It's called Name, Image, and Murder. It's a basketball action thriller.
I've seen it. I do not have a copy. I have not read it yet.
Okay, keep it in your mind. Amazon. Yes. I guarantee that you will enjoy it. It's got all these references, Easter eggs about Kentucky basketball that somebody with 43 years in the business will just eat that up. But
let's go.
My final shot has to do with something that Buzz actually said earlier. It was about Kenny Brooks and what he had to go through with his wife's cancer. I am a cancer survivor, in fact, a 2-time cancer survivor. And I can tell you that the toll it takes not only on the individual, but especially on their families is just literally off the charts. It's debilitating. So when we're out there where we're criticizing coaches and players, we've got to realize that we can't compartmentalize. There is a live human being behind that person.
That's right.
I hate to say it. John Calipari's always said they're not robots. That's absolutely true. There's usually something going on in everybody's life. So we need to take that into account. Sports, it's a wonderful distraction. It's a pleasant distraction for most of us, but we do have to realize that the athletes, the coaches, the individual behind the scenes, they have emotions and feelings and lives that are going on in addition to what their performance is on the court.
Amen.
Wow. Doc, I had no idea about the cancer thing with you. So good to hear your situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. All right. Davo, final shot.
That's tough to follow. Yeah. God bless you, Doc. That's awesome to hear. You beat that not once but twice. So that's awesome to hear. I think as we're gearing up into a new set of sports, I always like to shout out some of the other teams that don't get a lot of attention all the time, right? Kentucky baseball just started. They split their doubleheader, and I think today got rained out or snowed out. Whatever the hell's going on down there. And then I believe they start in a couple of days. They start their home opener up here. So,
home opener's Tuesday, Dave.
Yeah. And softball. just real quick, softball's first 20 games is tournaments and on the road.
Yes.
That's wild to me. So yeah, so just kind of keep up with that as well. I know track and field swinging, so try to support everything besides the big three. So for sure.
Okay, good stuff there, Dave-O. Buzz, final shot. What's your final thought of the night?
John, I'm gonna ring in with you. You're 1,000% right. I've never said much about it because I never felt like I had cancer, but I'm like 7.5, 8 years clear of prostate cancer. I met with my doctor and we just took the darn thing out, and I was in the hospital for one night and didn't have to have any other treatment or anything. So I haven't gone through all the stuff that some other people did, but thank God it's all gone. And so, especially males, get your checks and make sure you do all that stuff and get that early detection. But my folks are from down in Eastern Kentucky, and I've talked to a lot of people today. Talked to some of my buddies down in Pikeville who don't have power, who don't have water. They're being told it's like 2 or 3 months until they get water back. I mean, it is an incredibly serious situation. And, a lot of times we get on here and we fuss and we do things. And I tell people this all the time. We've got some pro soccer here in the state and some things like that. But what sports has always provided, I believe, for Kentucky is a relief from the day-to-day stuff. You all have probably seen that print that's out there where there are coal miners that are sitting around one of those old stoves listening to a UK game.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to balance it sometimes when things are going on, but life is really tough. And sometimes this is the only release for people. And so I hope we all just think about that. Opportunities will come. They don't have the relief centers set up yet for us to make donations and things like that, but they will. So I would just ask y'all, whatever your faith is, to keep those people, keep those families in your thoughts and prayers, and do whatever we can to lift them up. I had a friend who I've worked with for 30 plus years who lost her husband this week. It was sudden. He was at the doctor and bam, gone. So just as we go back to work or after you watch this, get on the phone. There are people out there that I know that you're connected with. Tell them you love them, and let's just hug each other up and get through all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well said, Buzz. I mean, sports is a distraction to the real world, but the real world does exist. And right or wrong, I don't care what your political beliefs or ties to, but it's moments like what the state is going through is where, be the bigger person, be sympathetic, be empathetic to your fellow person. And it's one thing too, Cal, the program, anytime there was some type of an event, Cal was always, and that's a prop to him. And actually I was going to bring this up kind of my final shot.
No, it's a good thing.
Cal always, right or wrong, whatever you feel about him, I always felt that he always wanted to do the best. He had the best interest of the state as well. And so, yeah, again, good take, Buzz.
I'll give you a real quick story, Dave. Yeah. When I can't remember whether it was Hurricane, the one in Haiti or the hoops for Haiti or the one in New Jersey, Hurricane Sandy. But I was out doing an SEC game, and I get a call on a Friday night from a number I didn't recognize. And I was in a hotel in Columbia, South Carolina, and it was Cal. And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm doing this game tomorrow." He said, "We're going to do a telethon Sunday afternoon from noon till whatever. Are you going to be back?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll be back." So my flight literally landed at like 11:15 on Sunday morning. I go scooting out to the station, put some clothes on, and I walk out to the studio, and he goes, "Okay, what are we going to do?" What do you mean? What are we going to do? This is your deal. I just walked in. But it's fair for people to question some things, but that's a great take, Kevin, because he was there for that. He is very sincere in his faith and his belief in helping people out. And for that, we can all be thankful.
Yeah. I can't. Cal will always be my coach. Right or wrong, he'll always be my coach. Coach P will always be my coach. You know, I'm.
You don't have to apologize.
No, it's not an apology. That's how it is. So, good stuff tonight, guys. I'm going to start to think these are going to be closer to 90 minutes than an hour, anyways. Especially,
Stop it.
Yeah, I know. Dave, Doc, and Buzz Jr. in the chat.
Stop it.
Good stuff.
Do not encourage it.
Yeah. Good stuff. I appreciate you. We got Doc, remind me, women's got what games they got this week?
Yeah, they're going to Missouri on the road, and then they're going to be back at home against LSU. Big game next Sunday. Sold out.
Men are home on Wednesday night against Vandy, and then they go to Alabama Saturday night, right?
Saturday night, yeah. All right, guys.
Auburn won there. They're not invincible there.
No, we need at least a stellar effort. We don't need to be blown out or anything, but yeah. And we'll save that. We'll be back next Sunday. I'll do this. I hope to have present company join me. I'll be hitting y'all up because this is fun. I like this vibe. I like the dynamic with Doc and Buzz.
Yeah, just keep your expectations low, and everybody will be happier.
Oh my God!
And Doc with the bling that we've
there we
seen
go.
tonight.
Can we all get those? If Doc can order them for us, can we all wear those?
Please, we got to talk about that, Doc.
It's got to be a clip-on. I'll get it.
I'll take
Needles,
Whatever.
needles, Buzz, needles.
That's amazing.
Thank you for everyone in the chat. Thank you, people watching. Appreciate it. We will be back next Sunday night. Round of shots. Peace out. Go Cats. Everybody have a good night. Good week. Take care.
See you guys.
Good night.